Small. Wow, tiny.
You are currently listening to Tiny Table,
where we explore TTRPGs you might not have heard of.
Whether big or small, we hope to cover them all.
Because we know that great things can come in tiny packages.
Salutations, small ones. This is Skylar, and the following episode is our rules rundown for the Magical World of Yeld. If you feel like you've already studied the rules hard enough to ace any pop quiz, then feel free to enter that magical doorway to the actual play episodes. However, if it's your first time, you need a refresher, or you simply enjoy the childlike wonder you feel anytime Julian narrates, then grab yourself a little jerky, gear up for your favorite classes, and we'll give you all you need to know. Smell you later.
The Magical Land of Yeld invites you to experience fantasy through the eyes of a child. This action-packed fantasy game will appeal to fans of Peter Pan, The Chronicles of Narnia, and Final Fantasy. The Magical Land of Yeld lies just beyond a seemingly regular door in our own world, and you'll play the adventurous kids who stumble through it. Fairies, merfolk, and talking animals will draw them in deeper, and they may journey back and forth for a time, but eventually, the door locks behind them, and these normal kids must take up the jobs of ancient heroes just to survive in this fantastical new world. Danger, excitement, and all manner of treasure await in the Magical Land of Yeld. If our heroes want to make it home, they'll need to defeat the insidious Hunters of Yeld to claim the door's 7 keys. Under the eye of the dread vampire Prince Dragul, you'll need to be strong, tough, smart, and brave. Whether you're a resilient oathbreaker, a sneaky soul thief, or a cunning witch, you'll race the clock to escape Yeld before your 13th birthday transforms you into a monster, trapping you in Yeld forever. What you'll need. The Magical Land of Yeld is a game for 2 or more players with a sweet spot of 3 to 6 for a smooth play experience. Each player will create a friend, a child from our world who winds up in the Magical Land of Yeld. The role of Game Master is rotational in the game of Yeld, shifting from player to player between adventures. When it's your turn to Game Master, your friend can exit the narrative for a brief time to do their own thing, or the group may elect to crowdsource your friend's actions. A helpful introduction on page 2 lets players and first-up Game Masters know which pages to read in preparation for the first game. The Magical Land of Yeld is built with longer campaign play in mind, but can also easily support one-shot sessions of adventure. A total session of play will last 2 to 4 hours depending on the complexity of the journey. If you're interested in playing the iconic adventure depicted in the handbook's many comic inserts, you can find the whole campaign starting on page 299. This included campaign will take your friends from rank 0 to rank 4 and spans 8 adventures, culminating in a fight with Dragul, the vampire prince that rules Yeld with an iron fist. To play the Magical Land of Yeld, you'll need a handful of D6s for each player, character sheets and pencils for your own friend, and a chessboard and player tokens if you choose to play combat with the action board rules. You'll of course need a copy of the rulebook, which can be purchased at yeldstuff.com or at your local game store. You can also find a free digital asset pack on yeldstuff.com, which includes character sheets, calendars, maps, the action board, and hundreds of images and tokens that can be printed or displayed on a digital setup. Before we continue, a brief content warning. The Magical Land of Yeld is designed so kids can play alongside adults, but that doesn't mean it steers clear of darker themes. The setting of Yeld as presented in the book is the product of multiple wars of imperialist expansion, with each one building on the one before. Children in Yeld also face a harrowing future. When they turn 13, they are transformed into monsters. The friends will often engage in violence to overcome their foes. Thankfully, death is not the end in Yeld, as a friend slain in combat will continue as a ghost until revived. Overall, the game deals in themes of growing up and all the scary developments that come with it. In our own play, there is allusion to the death of a grandparent in Episode 1, along with kidnapping and violence in Episodes 2 and 3. Episode 3 also features multiple characters imprisoned in tight quarters, along with a magically induced catatonic state. Preparation. For players, character creation begins by determining what kind of kid your friend is before they enter the Magical Land of Yeld. This starts with your friend's age and birthday, which you can choose or randomize by rolling d6 plus 6. Younger kids will have more restore rolls, giving them more chances to bounce back when the going gets tough. Older kids and preteens have fewer restore rolls, but additional special dice, allowing them to amplify their list of abilities and skills. Once you've got your age and birthday, choose your friend's type from the list of archetypes starting on page 7. Are they a tempestuous rival, an insecure bully, a talkative know-it-all, or even the group's dog? Each archetype grants an additional core die and an additional special die related to the archetype and their common behaviors. The 4 core dice are strong, tough, smart, and brave, and your friend will start with at least one of each. They form the basis of what you roll to accomplish uncertain tasks. Special dice denote particular skills, like karate chopping, cooking, somersaulting, or letter writing. You'll roll your special dice in addition to your core dice when they apply to the task you want to attempt. After selecting your archetype, pick one of your 4 core skills to receive 1 additional die. Choose a special die that feels appropriate for your character concept, and choose an item from home that your friend will bring with them on the adventure. You can find the full list of home items on page 183. Finally, give your friend a name, and they're ready to go. This process will create a friend as they exist in the regular world, which the game refers to as rank 0. At some point in your adventure, your friend will take on a heroic job that grants them superhuman acumen and magical powers. Your friend's job rank will progress from rank 1 to rank 4, heightening their abilities as they further embody the Yeld heroes of old. You can find the full list of heroic jobs in the job guide, which begins on page 79. Each job will grant your friend a unique ability, 2 additional core dice, 2 additional special dice, an assortment of weapon proficiencies, a starting kit of items, and a list of unique special dice your friend can take as they rank up. Once your friend is halfway through their adventure, they'll be able to seek out mastery over their current job through a mastery quest, found on page 99, or pivot into an advanced job, found on page 102. Check the story progress chart on page 34 for a breakdown of each rank and when the friends rank up. When it's your turn to Game Master for a game of Yeld, you'll begin by asking the table what themes and ideas they'd like to see in the upcoming adventure. These ideas can be broad, like, I want a lot of combat, or something really specific, like, I want to meet Baneth of the Crimson Ministry. Once you've heard the input from each player, choose a cool title to represent the adventure. For the prompts we just received, we might title the adventure something like Clash at the Crimson Ministry, or maybe The Battle with Baneth. Next, choose a difficulty level for the adventure, choosing between easy, medium, and hard. Higher difficulty adventures grant friends more rewards, so there's incentive for these kids to push themselves. You can find the breakdown of difficulty ratings and rewards on page 255. From there, you create the adventure map, a high-level breakdown of the scenes that comprise the adventure. These always start with a starting scene, which establishes why and how the friends embark on the journey. This is followed by a few story scenes that flesh out the scenario. Make sure to include at least one of your table's proposed ideas or themes in the premise for each story scene. These all culminate in a boss fight, the final clash where our hero's mettle is truly tested. After the boss fight, a brief wrap-up scene serves as denouement and allows the party to roll for treasure. This reliable format allows adventures to be generated collaboratively while still allowing for the Game Master's own design to surprise and delight the players. If you've got a checklist of player desires, a series of scenes worth exploring, and a fun climactic boss, you're ready to run an adventure in Yeld. Modes of play. The Magical Land of Yeld features 2 modes of play, adventuring and fighting. Both modes of play use the same core system of challenge resolution, so let's start by explaining dice and challenges. Your friend will have at least one of each core die. Strong dice indicate your friend's physical power. You'll roll strong dice to lift heavy things, climb, jump, run, or perform other feats of athleticism. In a fight, strong dice are used for attacking monsters. Tough dice indicate your friend's resilience. You'll roll tough dice to walk all day, hold your breath, or perform other feats of endurance. In a fight, tough dice determine what kinds of armor your friend can wear and are rolled to resist damage when hit. Smart dice indicate your friend's intelligence. Roll smart dice to notice enemies, understand languages, solve puzzles, pick locks, or perform feats of imagination. In a fight, smart dice are used to cast and resist magical spells. Finally, brave dice indicate your friend's willpower. You'll roll brave dice to overcome fears, stand up to bullies, or perform other feats of courage. In a fight, brave dice determine your movement and can be rolled to interrupt enemy turns or keep them from interrupting yours. In addition to your core dice, Your friend will also have a selection of special dice with more particular titles. When these titles apply to a challenge your friend confronts, these special dice can be added to the relevant core dice for the roll. For example, if your friend wants to swim a raging river rapid and they have the swim special die, roll their strong core dice and swim special die together to determine the result. So, what happens when you roll? Rolls in Yeld are always handled as a sum of d6 results. If, for the previous example, your friend had 2 strong core dice and 1 swim special die, you would roll 3 6-sided dice and add up the result to get your total. Your friend will always have access to their full core and special dice for any given roll that needs them. They aren't expended through use. Your friend may also be able to borrow additional dice from their equipment. Gear in Yeld confers bonuses, like +1 tough die or +1 bite die. If, in the earlier example, the friend had been wearing any gear that grants +1 swim or +1 strong, those could have been added to the roll as well. Your friends will gain access to lots of different items over the course of their adventures, so be sure to equip the items that are relevant to the task at hand. Once you have the total, this total is either compared against a set difficulty number or against a contested roll from an opposing creature. The adventure difficulty table on page 255 provides low, hard, and maximum target numbers for challenges at each difficulty for each rank, so Game Masters have support for evaluating and creating challenges on the fly. If the roll meets or exceeds the challenge difficulty number, the friend accomplishes their goal. The player narrates the outcome. If the roll falls short, the outcome is determined by the type of challenge, which the Game Master determines when the roll is made. There are 3 types. Skill challenges are simple pass-fail. If a roll fails in a skill challenge, the friend does not accomplish what they set out to achieve. Effort challenges are about exertion and time lost. If a roll fails in an effort challenge, the goal is still accomplished, but the friend loses 1 core die of the Game Master's choice. Finally, heroic challenges combine the two. A failed roll means the outcome isn't achieved, and the friend loses 1 core die. Heroic challenges should be saved for the most difficult and dangerous situations. We've now gone over everything you need to explore in the world of Yeld. Now, let's get into a fight. When a fight breaks out in Yeld, play proceeds in turns on a grid. Yeld uses a standard 8x8 grid called the Action Board to track the locations of friends, monsters, and hazards during fights. You can use a chessboard. Fights always begin with all combatants from one side on one edge of the board and all opposing combatants on the opposite edge. Fights in ranks 0 and 1 can feature a maximum of 3 monsters, and this increases to 5 at rank 2. Whoever first initiated the fight by declaring an attacking action takes the first turn. On a turn, a creature can move and take an action. A creature can move a number of spaces equal to their number of brave dice, including any dice borrowed from their equipment. Possible actions include attacking an adjacent creature with a melee attack, attacking a creature in line of sight with a ranged attack, casting a spell, dashing to move again, using a special die action, or banking your action for later use. Attacks are a contest between the attacker's strong dice, make sure to include the dice you borrow from your weapons, and the defender's tough dice. They can borrow dice from their armor. If the attacker's result is equal or greater than the defender's, the target loses 1 tough die. If a creature is reduced to 0 tough dice, they are knocked out or slain. Certain special dice also allow for alternative means of subduing monsters, such as capturing them, forcing them to retreat or surrender, or even befriending them. For more info on alternate win conditions, see page 18. At the end of your turn, you choose which friend or monster will go next. If your action was successful on your turn, and you choose a friend to take the next turn, you start up an action chain. The action chain represents the momentum of our heroes as they help each other face off against their monstrous foes. For each sequential turn where a friend succeeds in their action, the action chain will increment by 1. If you're a part of the action chain, you roll additional dice for your friend's action, with more dice the longer the chain has grown. If you've been a part of the chain earlier in the round, you even gain its benefits for defensive rolls on enemy turns, so long as the chain remains unbroken. The action chain is broken if a friend's action fails, or if they take an action that has no success or fail state, like banking an action for later or dashing. If a friend passes their turn to a monster instead of a friend, the action chain is not broken, but its development pauses until a friend is back in the driver's seat. Monsters can also break the action chain by interrupting a friend's turn with an "excuse me." Excuse Me is a universal move that friends or monsters can attempt to take a turn for themselves. When anybody tries to pass the turn to another friend or monster, somebody else can shout, excuse me, and roll a brave dice contest with the next in line. This will cut in turn order if they win. A successful excuse me will break the action chain, so be wary of monsters butting in on your momentum. But don't worry, monsters have their own monster chain, but you can interrupt them just the same as they can interrupt you. Only one interrupt is allowed per turn, so combat stays punchy without getting bogged down in too much interloping. Both friendly and monstrous action chains reset at the top of each round. The Magical Land of Yeld has one last surprise for its heroes. Death is not the end in Yeld. If your friend is reduced to 0 tough dice, they become a ghost. Ghosts still take turns in fights and have a whole list of unique ghostly actions they can take, found on page 24. Use these actions to haunt enemy spellcasters, chill monsters to the bone, or even fight against other ghosts. You might not be alone. One critical ghost action is the Restore roll, an action that can ordinarily only be taken outside of a fight. Each friend can use a limited number of Restore rolls per adventure, rolling their Brave dice to determine how many core dice they recover. With these in-combat restores, a ghosted friend can possibly return to the land of the living and fight another day. If the whole party is wiped, their ghosts weave their way back to the last inn they rested at, awakening the next morning each with a single tough die restored. While permanent death isn't a concern for our heroes, that doesn't mean death lacks consequence. The deaths of monsters increases the level of the Restless Dead, which represents the cost of taking the lives of Yeld's denizens. As the Restless Dead level increases, the game becomes more difficult. You can find the Restless Dead table, as well as the means to reduce it, on page 262. Between the Restless Dead, the frightful monsters, and the dangerous environs, your friends are sure to find plenty of danger, drama, and excitement in the Magical Land of Yeld. Legal. The Magical Land of Yeld is written, owned, and copyrighted by Nick Smith and Jake Richmond, all rights reserved. This podcast is based on the following game content created and owned by Yeld LLC. The Magical Land of Yeld, 2nd edition, Yeld LLC, 2024, available at yeldstuff.com. And The Dollyhook, Yeld LLC, 2024. Tiny Table is an independent production by Tiny Table LLC. This production was created in mutual partnership with Yeld LLC, who provided the Dollyhook module for use before public release. Well, that's everything you need to get going on your adventures in the Magical Land of Yeld. Have fun out there!
Hi, and thank you for listening to our podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, then we'd really appreciate if you left us a review. If you really like what we do here and want to support us further, you can join us at patreon.com/tinytablepodcast. Our business email is also open for inquiries at tinytablebusiness@gmail.com, and all of our socials can be found in the episode description for any shenanigans you might want to follow. Till next time, see ya!